nice to meet you all. I own a digital marketing agency called Execution. I just started in January. I quit my previous full-time job as a media buyer because I saw that we weren't using AI at all. We weren't doing automation. We were not using efficient processes. My previous job, I was doing restricted category marketing, mostly in the cannabis and ketamine industry, and now I'm brought into all restricted categories. People with but topic this time, I'm going to be going over AI and MarTech and some of the tools that I use for attribution and tracking in MarTech, how I use those tools.
You turn it on?
How do I turn it on? Thank you. Appreciate that. So what is marketing? Marketing is the art of influencing purchasing behavior at scale. So it's very one-to-one, a sales process, but marketing really is just the salesperson when you can educate someone about product or influence their behavior to actually seek it out. And so we can do that by analyzing behavior, our psychology, and storytelling, often sequence advertising, and thus influence the perception of our products and brands. It makes our jobs as salespeople a whole lot easier. So what is MarTech in essence? It's a set of tools. It's also the ad platforms and the strategies that we use, but I'm going to be focusing on the tools and the technology that I use. And it's increased the speed of change. If you want to track marketing technology since the start of the internet, it's only accelerated in the last couple of years with the advent of AI. It's just gotten faster and a lot more fascinating and a lot more fun. So this is my background. I spent over $10 million personally and managed that money on YouTube and Google. We're talking about my team. Like double it. I focus on restricted categories, which is like cannabis, impact, legal services, alcohol, ketamine, anything that's restricted on what we can and can't say. I'm also an artist and creator. I have a degree in illustration and design. I painted over 50 paintings last year. I'm actually probably more proud of that than I am of my work in marketing, but it's a lot slower. So this is the first question, probably the most important question that I ask any of my prospective clients or startup founders when I'm working with them in an accelerator, a mastermind group, or they're thinking about working with me as a client. What's your CAC? CAC meaning customer acquisition cost. And there are mostly bad answers. I think it's $100, I think it's $1,000. A good answer, an example of a good answer would be the last 7 days is $125. 6 months ago it was $150. The other good answer is I don't know. Let's find out. What can reducing your customer acquisition costs do? It can give you leverage in a handful of different ways. Put some examples up on the screen there. It gives you money back and it gives you leverage in your funding rounds. You can decide to spend what you thought you were going to spend on advertising dollars on a developer. It can give you more runway. And it can improve your metrics if you're going through your next funding round. So a lot of people are using viral marketing. You don't necessarily have control over viral marketing, but if you're using paid channels to do your marketing, you have a lot more control over how many customers you can acquire. If you're developing that sophistication, which is what I do, then you can constantly be iterating and improving on how you're acquiring your customers and reducing your customer acquisition costs. So the evolution of marketing technology, this is one of the things that I geek out on, is these two metrics here. Return on ad spend and MER. MER is the original marketing metric. This was used 100 years ago to track efficacy of newspaper, radio advertising, television advertising. And over the last 20 years, there's been a hyper-focus on return on ad spend. And with developments of privacy and lack of cookie tracking, especially with GDPR and iOS 14, which I'm going to talk about later, it's just gotten more challenging, and we're moving back towards the trend of MER tracking. So it requires a lot more methodical tracking of what we're doing and how we're spending our advertising dollars effectively. Mass media has changed a lot. And I said this before, it's accelerated tenfold. Now I'm hiring 16-year-old influencers. I never thought I'd be doing that, but it's what works on TikTok. And social media, this is what they seem to look like to me when I'm hiring their background. They have a million computer screens, and they seem to know a lot more about the TikTok algorithm than just about anybody else that I've ever met. Privacy and tracking, there's also been a ton of developments there. If you've been following that since the early days, first cookies were developed in 1996, and in 2016, iOS 14 and more recently GDPR, we're seeing the lack of cookies, and it's created a huge challenge, especially for apps. If they want to get installs on Apple, which I'll talk about later, it's almost impossible to do the types of attribution and tracking that you want to do if you're going to want advertising dollars effectively. So now moving into the interesting stuff, artificial intelligence. I think everybody has probably heard of ChatGPT or Midjourney or DALL-E. I'm using that stuff heavily, and so it can be used for content creation, automation, and analysis. And so probably the best use cases is iteration, constant iteration. Production has gotten so expensive, especially to do high quality production and marketing content. Now, that's not necessarily what's needed. Typically, lower quality content early on is a better way to iterate on what you say rather than how you say. I think a lot of people are focusing, a lot of marketers are focusing on the medium as the message and producing $25,000 videos to serve out on YouTube. And it gets beat by the self-shot video by the 16-year-old because they've shot 10 different versions and tried out 10 different ways of saying their offer. And so AI has made my life a whole lot easier because I can produce really high-quality content really easily and automate the analysis if my channels have gotten more complex. Written content, ChatGPT, Jasper, visual content, everything on this presentation, every single image on this presentation was generated by AI. It took me just a couple hours. I've been using it heavily, so if you go and give it a shot, it might take you a little bit longer to get in tune with it, but I also have a degree in illustration and design, so I've tuned it up based on my skill set. Video generation, also possible, incredibly good these days. That has advanced very quickly over the last few months. Now I'm going to show some tools in a moment. Recommendation, probably one of the oldest use cases that the consumer has seen for machine learning and analysis. Amazon and Google have been using machine learning and AI to develop great recommendations based on your searches and what products you might want to buy, but now it's all that. And chatbots, they're finally conversational. If you guys have been using chatbots on the web, they have been reducing the customer service load for a very long time, and now they can intuit what you're trying to ask, even if you don't have the word for it, and they can do it in multiple different languages, in multiple different styles, and they'll answer you in the language that you prefer. And that doesn't just mean for English or Spanish, they'll answer you in the style you prefer too, and even interpret your tonality. Some of them are really fascinating tools, and they're really reducing the customer service load. Now, I will say, if you're startup founders, if you're entrepreneurs, if you're subject matter experts, it's not replacing you, but it's most likely replacing the drive-through person in the next couple of years. The person answering the drive-through likely will be a video and a chatbot, and probably the service will be a little bit better. ChatGPT, for example, one of the standout use cases is, or actually I listed some standout use cases here. So for AI writing, we have ChatGPT and Jasper. I can see some of you taking photos. I actually have a QR code at the end of this video and at the end of this presentation that has links to all of my recommended tools. 30 to 50 tools. I'm updating it constantly. Connect with me on LinkedIn and you'll get a constant stream of new tools that I'm trying out. For image generation, we have Midjourney, DALL-E, and my personal co-founded startup, 88 Stacks, the intent being to 100x the ability to generate images. Right now, for DALL-E or Midjourney, you have to sit in front of the computer and You get your dopamine hits, generating images, but you have to be sitting there looking at what they're generating and then come back to it and adjust. The intent for 88 Stacks was to input your brand and it will output images constantly iterating based on what you're posting. And for AI video, I have Picchio and Synthesia are the two leaders in this case. If you've heard Synthesia, you can actually generate an avatar of yourself and have it speaking based on text-to-speech technology. Now it's text-to-video technology, and it is very good. It learns your voice, it learns your expressions, face. You do have to stand still and be in studio lighting and have great production quality when you go and record that training model, but it drastically reduces the amount of time that you have to spend generating video, generating new scripts and iterations. So I'm not necessarily hiring actors anymore. I'm using AI technology. So to get into how I'm using ChatGPT, these are some of the use cases that I thought might be interesting to the startup founders. I'm writing business plans. I think a lot of us geek out about writing business plans, especially if we just have that idea, and it just takes so much time to sit there and write out each section, especially if a certain section is not in our affinity. But let's just fill it in with ChatGPT. And if you give a little bit of context based on your subject matter expertise or what kind of research you've already done, it will generate something that will get you 80% of the way to a business plan that can get funded. And I am seeing ChatGPT generated business plans getting funded by small business development, with small business consulting organizations, and I'm hearing the hype about them in the news getting funded by large organizations and investors. Script writing, I'm a creative and I have certain stories that I'm attracted to. For example, I rewrote an adaptation of Braveheart for Arizona, for the Navajo people to be Scottish and the Cowboys to be English. And I did that in about 5 hours on a Sunday. This was a few months ago, and ChatGPT's come a long way since then. But I was absolutely fascinated by being able to generate not only the script and the story, but the storyboards as well. And I'm not interested in going to Hollywood for that, but I thought that what I had there probably could have gotten that. And ideation. It is better than any naming agency I've ever hired. Now, as a marketer over the last 10 years, I have hired naming agencies and branding agencies to come up with names for the clients that I've worked with, especially when they've had maybe a name that doesn't roll off the tongue. Well, going to ChatGPT with your ideas and breaking it down with them is absolutely one of the best ways to find your domain name if you're struggling with it. So I recommend checking it out. Image generation. Now I'm talking about the dopamine hits. All the images on this, I'm repeating myself, but all the images on this slide, but in this talk in particular, the next few slides were generated by AI in just a few minutes. So I did concept design here. I asked it to generate images for the design of an innovation in tech campus with an integrated vertical farm in Phoenix, Arizona. And I thought these came out pretty good. Doing character design, I anthropomorphized a professor. I did transformation of a human into a lizard, and I asked a little girl to teach an alien to Macarena. In marketing, engagement through imagery is probably one of the best ways to get people engaged with your brand. So iterating on these crazy ideas like this would have cost me a lot 5 years ago to do the set, production, CGI, hiring. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm just sitting on Midjourney where I provide this for some of my employees and they do a better job once I have the ideas. This is one of the projects that I use for a PD naming consulting firm. And if you can guess which one of these have the best applicability, maybe there's a prize for you, but these are some of the political figures that we turned into babies and have served out on social media ads, and they have performed really well. We have in the bottom row Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, and Albert Einstein in the top row, Bill Clinton, Theodore Roosevelt, and Angela Merkel. We got so many more. It was really hard for us to decide what was going to go out there, and we really didn't have to. That's the beauty of AI. It was so easy for me to generate these images that I just served them out, iterated, A/B tested, multivariate tested, and found out that one of these that than any of the others for applicability and getting people to convert to AD manning leads. Thank you. So this is AI generated video. It's like the sound. Look at that.
Hello, Phoenix Startup Lead.
This video is completely AI generated video.
And you can generate a video like it in just minutes.
You can even create your own content.
So that's virtually an ad for video, but it's probably my favorite service for video avatar generation. These are some of the avatars that are available stock if you go sign up with video today. And while if you read the terms of service, it's fairly restricted. You can't use these avatars for advertising purposes. You can generate your own avatars as long as you have people sign the releases or an avatar for yourself. And I'm using this in particular to create some custom outreach videos. So I'm doing a ton of outreach on LinkedIn. And if you've done outreach on LinkedIn for sales, you know that engagement, getting people to listen to you is incredibly hard. So that's why I'm generating custom messaging for them. And I don't have to spend the time shooting video. I don't have to have a video camera set up and microphone set up. I just did the training once based on my avatar. And now I can send it out en masse based on it's just text to video. Absolutely amazing. It's made my engagement rates go from like 10% to 25%. I think as this becomes popularized, probably people will get used to it, the novelty of it. But for now, it's really cutting edge. So now getting into probably the more geeky part of this, MarTech and attribution. I talked a little bit earlier about how the changes in MarTech and attribution have affected the way I do my work. But in essence, attribution tracking is measurement engagement, analysis, and decision making. So the challenge here is it's gotten a lot more complex. As your company grows, as my agency has grown, as my clients have gotten bigger, we're now spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook, tens of thousands of dollars on Google, tens of thousands of dollars on TikTok. Truly, that seems to be the marketing mix, lots of them on Facebook and a little bit less and more focused on Google. But the channels are across multiple platforms. We're talking about also incorporating SMS, podcasts, radio, and as it gets more complex, it gets so much harder to make those decisions about how to allocate your media mix. If you trust any single platform that tell you to spend all the money on Google or Facebook or wherever they're getting their information. iOS 14, also the biggest challenge. A lot of marketers got out of marketing, digital marketing, after iOS 14 because it presented such a huge challenge. Now, Apple said we're going to increase privacy and not allow our users to be tracked in the same way. So Apple users, who are some of the most profitable mobile users in digital advertising, are now a lot more challenging to track. And when it comes to serving back the information to the ad platform, that's how they optimize who to serve ads to based on their own machine learning algorithm. If we don't have that information for Apple users, we're really missing out on some of our best possible customers. So Facebook, for example, has developed their own app tracking. But it's still a challenge for all app marketers today. And I'm seeing app marketers really just rely on NER for the most part if they don't have that level of sophistication. GDPR also not being able to pass personally identifiable information back to the ad platform once it's passed has presented a huge challenge to marketers in serving the conversion data back to the algorithm. So that's the big challenge, and I hope to answer those. This is the full version of tracking and attribution. I wasn't actually able to generate a great video for image for attribution. This is what I got, but I didn't want to spend hours in front of it. Probably should have hired an illustrator for that one. Now, applications for marketing attribution. Sentiment analysis, also a significant overlap with AI there, but we're using this to track the sentiment about our brands on Twitter, and that's been done for a long time. the sentiment about our competitors' products based on reviews, and the sentiment in the comments and responses so that it can do automatic comment moderation. Tracking competition, probably one of the best ways to figure out how you can do your marketing messaging. Having a foil for your marketing messaging, a straw man to go up against, is one of the best and easiest ways to do some conquesting in your marketing. So I'm constantly tracking my competitors and their ads to see how I can position my ads against theirs. Tracking engagement. Tracking engagement meaning clickability, thumbs up ability, view rate, percentage of the video view, click depth, scroll depth. All of these metrics have just made my life a whole lot easier in figuring out what ads are good, what messaging is good as early as possible. Multi-channel attribution, this is the hardest problem I was talking about earlier. Figuring out your media mix is incredibly difficult when it comes to marketing. And if you wanted to trust Google or Facebook, they would tell you to spend all the money there. They've introduced new conversion tracking methods like on Google, called enhanced or data-driven tracking. If you've ever gotten a call from Google rep, they've asked you to turn on enhanced or data-driven tracking, and it really depends on what you're doing for that to benefit you. Because if you're spending money across multiple platforms, it's not necessarily someone you want to trust as a Google rep or a salesperson. Facebook, same case, they have less reps reaching out to you, but they'll want you to spend more money on Facebook. And if you turn both of them on and add up what the revenue attribution is on a per platform basis, you'll probably see about double of the actual core revenue was. That's why I go with third-party platforms. Amplitude and Morphine are probably the two standouts because there's a lot more out there. They tend to be a little bit of black box when it comes to calculating your MER or your multi-channel attribution, but they will provide some weights on how conversion can be attributed partially to any single platform. Amplitude, by the way, if you're a startup, has a startup program, and they'll give you a year free if you're under $5 million in revenue. Morphine is just the best when it comes to comparing the other ones that are available. So this is the QR code, FYI. You can click me on LinkedIn if you want to, because it's going to get updated. But have AI writing tools there, AI video tools, AI audio, image generation, chatbots, tracking tools, etc. And I'm adding a lot more every time I find one. PHX is my co-founded startup. I've turned on all the servers today to see if any of you guys want to try it out. It's a work in progress. We've been working on it for a while, but we've developed a handful of tools there. We've been trying to do image generation. We've been doing LinkedIn post generation. Connect me on LinkedIn to see some of the posts that I've generated with it. I'm not saying that I generated with it, but they're just that good that I don't have to. And we're doing automated email outreach based on custom avatars. You can have an email generated based on a specific person, all your notes in your HubSpot profile, and customized to your brand just based on a simple form fill. Have questions? I love talk. I love challenges. I geek out about all this stuff. I really went broad, not deep here. So I'm hoping you have some questions specifically about the things that I'm talking about, because I've worked in a huge number of industries. So really, I think B2B is a lot easier because I've been doing that for a lot longer. I work in the legal industry a lot, and then the cost per click for say like an SEC litigation is like $150. The cost per lead is $3,000. When I'm doing a sequence, it looks really similar to D2C. I'm trying to serve them awareness ads on Facebook, and I'm going to try and serve them consideration ads across social and on YouTube. And then I'm going to try to do some storytelling ads on YouTube and via email, if I've already done some lead capture. And then at the end, B2B, they go to Google with some intent. And I ideally, they're going to Google with the intent to search for my client's brands. But if they're not, then they're going for SEC litigation or FINRA letter or something like that. And by telling that story consistently throughout, serving each of these coming back to data and enriching it as best we can, I'm reducing the cost per click by half, I'm reducing cost per click by 75%. So for some of my clients, I've actually shifted into a lead sale and lead gen network rather than having myself run the ads for them. For example, DUI, personal injury. Now I do run lead gen networks for those because it just doesn't make sense for them to retain sophistication and time in. Good answer.
Okay, I have a question around the iOS aspect of tracking. So what are you doing to get around it? That's one. And then also, is that why you see on certain apps when you get pop up that says to track your other apps? Is that what that's doing?
So the pop-up is usually GDPR related. That's Europe tracking. iOS 14, so that Facebook has their own integration for app tracking called Scan, and it does a decent job. App tracking is still a challenge. It's not something I focus on, but can be incredibly profitable when it's done right. Typically, you have to ask for some type of information before they download the app. So a lot of times you'll see a splash page before you send them to the App Store. Now that's not as effective as running an ad directly to the App Store install page, but you can capture conversion data there that you wouldn't be able to capture within the app if you're on. Thank you. Anybody else?
I really like that picture you did.
Thank you.
Cool, very cool. I got to turn my sound on. But so I have business. When do I change from this traditional marketing to just using AI? Is it a process, or is it like I start tomorrow, or?
I go sign up for ChatGPT Plus today, tomorrow. I have every one of my employees has a ChatGPT Plus account, and I'm asking them to ask ChatGPT before they ask me. I have a whole set of prompts that they're using. When they generate copy, I'm asking them to use ChatGPT to check out how they're using passive voice, to change disqualifiers and qualifiers, and to see if they can get ChatGPT to run 10 variations before they come to me asking me to improve their marketing messaging. So I would start using it ASAP. It really makes iteration a whole lot easier.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for that.
I love ChatGPT, so I've played with all these tools. I don't know what happened with that made videos, all that. So my question is around ChatGPT. What did you prompt? And I think it would help everybody to write a business plan. So like what? Because you can get an outline of a business plan, but how are you prompting it? Because prompting matters the most in ChatGPT.
So since you're familiar, you probably know, but I'm going to restate for everybody else who's not as familiar. The context that comes with ChatGPT, the information, the model that it's already trained on, is just the internet up until 2021, or maybe you're updating it up until 2022 now. It knows about the world until COVID, essentially. And it's based on okay information online. If you're doing cutting edge stuff, subject matter expertise stuff, it doesn't know what you know, it knows what Reddit knows. So you have to, so you have to give it more context. And so that means your first few prompts before you ask it to write a business plan will be to help it know what you're trying to write about. And so, for example, over this weekend, I wanted a terracotta evaporative cooler business plan. I've seen these on TikTok, and I thought they're absolutely beautiful. And I was just so overheated on patio in Scottsdale, so I wanted it to write about terracotta evaporative coolers. So first I had it write about the technology involved. And the Venturi effect, and how to source the terracotta, and all those things. And if I did not do that, it would have just written me a very plain business plan without the sophistication of incorporating some of these technologies that I'm aware of. Going to add on a little bit later. Ask it 3, 4, 5 questions first. Tell it gave you wrong answers. You can read the context in the chat above what you've written already, and that will greatly inform what it's going to give you. Now, the other part of it is it will only deliver a certain amount of bits, and bits are the number of words that it will deliver in response. So if you ask it to write a whole business plan, you'll get about a 1.5-page business plan with 8 sections, and each section will be 1 paragraph. If you ask it to outline a business plan, and then it'll give you 1.5 pages, then you ask it to write a page on each section, that will give you on 1 page for each section, because it's now not limiting itself by those bits to generate the entire thing in that section. So I've written maybe 10-page business plans in a few minutes with that strategy. I'm thinking that maybe it's worth doing a video on.
Do you have any recommendations regarding possible batches related to intellectual property rights? Like it goes out and just pulls all this stuff and generates images and all these things?
Well, I will say it generates wrong information. That's why it's not going to replace a subject matter expert anytime soon. So you do have to fact check it. So that's the first thing. It will definitely generate wrong information. As a marketer, if you ask it to write a marketing strategy, it will generate not very clever strategies, not very interesting strategies. When it comes to image generation, it's tough. I can very easily generate images of the KFC logo, of Darth Vader, of Mickey Mouse, and I would say if Disney caught on, it probably would be pretty PO. I'm also not serving those out because I'm aware of the IP there. It's not something that can be fully automated, just like Tesla's self-driving still needs a driver to be sitting there just in case something happens that it can't predict. All of this AI stuff is still so early phase that it does need someone sitting there as a driver, making sure that it doesn't go off the rails. So.
My question is similar to that. In the video example, you said it's mainly basically who's our students.
Well, I only write to my face. You only write to your face.
But did you sign an agreement with them that says, because using software some is 10 years down the road, they own whatever you use to code out.
Fingers crossed, man. I'm hoping. In the terms of service, it does say it's fairly restricted terms of service. I think I had mentioned that earlier, that it does say that they're not going to use those things for their own purposes, and that they do restrict the avatars that they've created based on real people to not be used for advertising. There are also fairly restricted uses around the industries you can use it in, even if they're not using it for advertising. It can be paid content, and it can be some of the more fringe content as well.
Michael, thank you for the presentation today. You show a lot of different variety on the emerging marketing side. I'll go on a little bit of a tangent here, but with the marketing world, there's so much measurables and outcome, and kind of mentioned that with your presentation. Curious, with the startup community here, the founders here, with all the introduction of new technology in this space, how do you continue to track all these measurables? It seems like there's an infinite amount of ROI, like click-through open ratios and all that. Is there a certain thing that's like gold standard for you that, hey, even with new technology, we should be measuring these 1, 2, 3 factors? Or is it something that, founders and business owners need to continue to learn and measure in new ways?
What's your CAC? What's your cost per acquisition? That should be your guiding light. I think every founder should know that day by day. These are really complicated marketing metrics to just jump into and understand how they work. Truly, they're calculated fairly simply, but with so many of them input, it's best to use a platform like Google Analytics or Facebook or Team or Amplitude to help you make those decisions for you, because it can get quite complicated. So where do you start? I think, I would probably start with ChatGPT and Midjourney, and probably pick up a subscription of the video and iterate. So one of the challenges that I see that startup founders have is that they find something that works and they stick with it. And I am obsessed with finding something better, which means failing a lot. And so when I'm running highly successful legal marketing campaigns or ad marketing campaigns, a lot of times I face resistance with the founders or marketers that I'm working with because what they've been doing has generated customers at such and such rate. Well, if we stop testing the offer and stop testing the messaging and strategy, then we'll probably get consistently reduced results based on the lack of novelty from that. So if you can just iterate more, you will continue to improve.
I got a question with all the different things we talked about today, like image generation, video generation, ChatGPT. I would say wrong. Which of these technologies is most interesting? Which one do you find more fascinating, whether it's because of the evolution and what the outputs that come of it, or the potential future? So whether it's image generation, video generation, outlining, business generations, or any one in particular do you find most interesting?
Probably the ones that are most boring and having presentation.
Data analysis, machine learning and AI graph databases make it a lot easier to make decisions based on insight, and I don't have to sit there with calculating statistical significance between two tests. I can do complex multivariate tests across different regions and come up with insights based on previous tests and algorithm training that I wouldn't be able to come up with without probably a multi-page Excel spreadsheet with everything feeding into it. So it's not the interesting answer, but it's because I'm nerding out about spending money on ads. If I'm iterating and connects, I really, really need a platform to help me make decisions. Amplitude, yeah, it's flow, attribution. It does a whole lot. It's got an overlap with a handful of other tools out there as well. Attribution typically means weighting engagements across multiple platforms, and so it can be used for that. I would say probably won't rely on any one tool to do it, and if your affinity is to use it for flows like video or sequences like video, I think that probably works as well. Google Analytics works really good as well. Just don't trust Google to support a product long term.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Thanks, guys, for listening.